Are you equipped for necessary and hard conversations? Are you a suppressor or a communicator? Not sure which one? Let's talk about it. You know the drill. Share this with a friend, have a seat, and get ready to join the discussion on Black Love Lens. Welcome, y'all. Jamie Alexander here, Black Love Lens. And you know, I don't have this conversation by myself. So let me bring in the amazing, well rounded, great communicator, okay, dating and relationship consultant in Nyatu, Marv. Yeah.
Hey, happy Winning Wednesday.
West Side Wednesday,
West Side. Up to Woo
Winning Wednesday.
Wednesday. Woo Wednesday, West Side Wednesday, Winning Wednesday. I love it.
All of it. We in here. How you feeling?
I am pretty darn good, except for the weather is breaking in Chicago. It's dark outside already. I'm just, I need
The
something to
hawk finna
stretch
be
out.
out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need something to stretch out like one more month. I'm not ready.
You might have to relocate. Just catch a flight real quick.
I see, I'm just not paying attention to the signs. Get on out of here.
Yeah.
That means it's time to go.
That's right. Because it's going to be frozen over there at least until March. So,
Oh, man.
woo, I'm not built for it. I had to leave New York and Chicago because it's too much.
Smart, you're smart. I always knew you were a smart woman, Jamie.
I love it. So I'm excited to have this conversation. I found so much value in it. I feel like it kind of piggybacks off of what we talked about last week and some of the stuff that I'm seeing in the media, which is interesting. Maybe I'll mention a little bit. But this is about whether you're equipped to have a hard conversation. So let's listen to what this man has to say about communication and suppressing and see what you guys think. You ready? Well, there you go.
Many of us don't know how to deal with conflict. And depending on the type of home that we grew up in, we may avoid issues altogether, especially necessary hard conversations. So our norm may be to just run away from them and to suppress any type of red flag that we see and pretend like it's not there, even though we saw it. What's the worst is when that type of person gets in a relationship with a communicator, because now one party wants to talk about the issue while the other party is suppressing it. And most times the suppressor can project onto the other party. What does this look like? The communicator is trying to talk about an issue. The suppressor will undercut the issue that the communicator is raising and then point out that they've overlooked several things. The statement might be, there's so much I could say, or I overlook so much. And the reality is that's like a crabs in a barrel type thing, where it's, I have this unhealthy behavior, I suppress everything. So who are you to raise stuff? You should be suppressing your stuff like I do. When in reality, the suppressor should be matching the communicator's energy. Communicate more, work on communication. Suppressing never gets you anywhere in a relationship. And lastly, number 4, mature to the point of understanding that discussions and disagreements are not fights. I know the dreaded quote that many of you have heard is, it seems like you just always want to argue. And we're all adults here. We got to recognize that any type of relationship comes with difficulty, and communication is not a personality thing. It's not an opinion based thing. We have to communicate to resolve issues. We have to communicate to get through life. Communication is a base level thing. It's not a preferential thing. So we have to get away from this notion of suppressing things or looking at people that want to talk as instigators. Talking is the base level of communication.
That was so good.
All right.
Uh, let's dive right in, shall we?
I have dated some suppressors in my adult life.
Yeah.
But uh, I think maybe when I was younger that I may have been a suppressor. I think as a man, sometimes we train and condition not to complain and not to bring up stuff, and that it's emotionally intelligent to just let it roll, everything roll off of our backs. But avoiding difficult conversations for temporary peace leads to permanent dysfunction. It is important to talk about things or they fester and they grow into resentment. And so I remember at that age, you know, I did exactly what he said. He would say a woman would bring something to me and it's like, okay, I haven't been saying anything because, you know, nobody's perfect or wherever the case may be. But if this is a thing, you know, if it bothers you that I'm doing this, maybe you should take a peek at how this you manifest this exact same thing, but it doesn't bother you when you do it. But you know, that's a terrible way to try to communicate. That's a terrible way to operate in relationships. Is you only try to bring something up when the other person is bringing something to you. And I swore I was right, right? I swear I'm like I'm giving grace left and right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
No bueno. And so. And then there's a duality thing going on where people are communicators about what's bothering them or what's not working for them. But then there's suppressors when they have to hear what's not working for their partner. So yeah, this is definitely a great discussion and I'm looking forward to really diving into it.
Yeah, you said so many great things here. And I love having discussions about this because there's so many nuances to it. And sometimes when I look on the internet at things, you know how it is. We hear something and it's just like, this is what it is. And it's like, oh my God, there's just so many more colors in there. And you brought some of them to light. So I have been a suppressor. I was raised a suppressor. You know, I had the blessing of having both of my parents in a household for my whole, you know, growing up. But my dad really took the reins when it came to raising us. And I got my information from a man, you know, so probably the same thing he would have told his boys. It was what he was telling us, like, you know, and the more time that goes by and I do the work, I'm just seeing it so clearly and have done and am doing, you know, because it's a process to be a better communicator. So I would say in the past few years, I've definitely gotten far better, but I would let everything roll off my back. I would suck everything up. I wouldn't say nothing about nothing ever because I could deal with it. I could handle it. People aren't perfect. It's not that serious. Then you get quotes in here like pick your battles and you start applying them joints to the wrong situations. So it is what I wanted to share about this and being a suppressor. I love the way he brought up it's about how you're raised, but it really does something to your self-worth. And I don't know if that's what it sounds like to me, because I know some of the things that I went through, even though that wasn't the intent or the truth. And even though I've had a pretty decent level of confidence since I could remember, still, when I think about it, it's like, okay, you didn't think you speaking up was valuable or worth it, or what you had to say or how you felt was of any importance. That's your job, Jamie, to take care of that. So it just is kind of like, well, damn, like nobody really cares like how I feel. And it wasn't something you ball up in a corner about, but it's almost something you take on the chest. Like nobody really cares how you feel. Feelings are fleeting. Woman out and, you know, work around it or be the change you want to see. And then it's a mess and it is counterproductive. Even though you think you might be doing something by not saying anything, it's absolutely terrible. And I think you said something to it, like deteriorating the situation or something like it doesn't work.
Yeah, it builds resentment. It builds resentment when you keep things in. Again, you know, when we're young, we don't know ourselves as good yet. We're going off of what we've been taught and what's projected on us and what society says we're supposed to be doing during that period in time. And so obviously as I got older, I have studied myself and I have gotten to know myself. And so if I suppress how I feel, it makes me feel like I'm being unloving towards myself. Mm-hmm. That's not a good thing, right? In fact, that can cause me to overcompensate, right? Because I love me. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So if I catch myself feeling like I'm being unloving towards myself, then I might take extreme measures to counteract that. And so,
Ooh.
yeah,
I've
people
seen that
don't.
before.
Yeah, people don't. I mean, I hate to say it, but again, I was younger when I felt silence, or I felt like it was being suppressed, and that me expressing myself was being weaponized against me. I would be quiet and just cheat, which is a terrible thing. But I've seen many men, confess to the same thing, that before they were found their voices and saw it as important to communicate, that is exactly what those men would do. And so now I like to talk through things, and I hate that there are so many people who feel like if you bring something up, that it's a bad thing, or even that it is an argument at all. Sometimes I'm just sharing an observation and bringing it to a person's attention so that I can ask questions and get more information so that I understand what's going on. But I've been told that I can be such a encouraging, uplifting person that when I speak about how I feel about my woman in a positive light, it's so powerful, it's so empowering, that it's hard to take when I have a concern or a complaint. or a complaint. And so I literally had a woman like, you put me on a pedestal, queen, goddess, blah, blah, blah. And so then when you say something that's not that, you shot me. Mm-hmm. Right? It's those videos where they like, he said he doesn't love me anymore. Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, that's not what I said. What did I say?
Right, yeah.
You can't play the video game or stop buying shoes.
Yeah, he hates me.
Right. He hates me. That's how it was received.
But it's so funny. I feel like men do the same thing in a different way. And the way I feel is if I have something to bring up, and gently, a million ways so that you think it will land. But I feel like guys start to think they're like not good enough, or what they're doing isn't enough. Oh, because so I did all of this and now you got, and it's like, all of that is great. I'm still super grateful. I still care for you. I still want to be here. But I got questions and we need to have a discussion about this. But it's very hard, in my opinion, or my experience, I should say, to penetrate the ears of a man who's pretty much already heard, she's ungrateful, she ain't good enough, it ain't. Now I'm just like, now I'm having to do the work to remind you of how great everything is, and we done forgot all about this part down here. And it's like, now what do you do now? I gotta say something again, and then it goes to the whole, you just want to pick fights.
That's a powerful point. And I've had some clients bring that up to me just recently, that men have an idea of what they're supposed to do to make them a good man to their woman. Whatever that little box is, those 4 things.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
And then they do those 4 things and they confuse if you expect anything else or you have anything to say about anything else. It's like, what? I paid the bills this month. What do you mean? It's like that's the end all be all, or whatever it is that they think is the end all be all. So there are women who don't know each other, don't know Jamie, don't know your story, who are describing the exact same thing. And unfortunately, those men can't see it until the women leave, right? And then it's like, wait, what? I communicate more. I'll be more affectionate. I'll go to therapy.
Yeah.
But before it was like, I do this, I do that. What? I bought some sneakers. I paid for a trip.
Yeah. Yes, baby. And thank you.
Right.
But, and it's not even a but. It's like a yes and.
And, yeah.
I don't know how to do it. I haven't mastered that conversation yet. And it makes this conversation very important. And it makes these things really challenging. And I understand how it is to suppress. I understand what men go through in suppression, what I went through with suppression. what I had to do to heal my self-worth, to get to know myself enough to make a discerning decision when to pick my battles, what to say, what's really hurting me. Jamie, check in with you. Are you in a mood? Are you on your period? Are you like, there's a lot that needs to go on before, but you don't know any of that. So now that I'm still just kind of like, how do you move forward? This is such a all day, everybody type of a situation. I don't even know what to do. I really don't.
Yeah, it's wild. What I would say to people is feedback, again, can really be a great thing. And, I think we have just a terrible perspective about it. People feel like they're being judged. Like you said, some people will try to interpret it as you saying that they're not good enough, and then take a victim stance. When really, this is how teams get great, right? I tell people all the time, the NBA has tried to build super teams at times, but it usually doesn't work the first year because they're great players. They sent LeBron to Miami and Bosh to Miami, and Dwayne Wade was already there, but they didn't win that first year. They got their butts kicked because they hadn't gotten to know each other. So, hypothetically speaking, LeBron had to go to Wade and say, hey, when I do this and do that, it means this. And Bosh said, hey, when I grab that rebound, I want you to already be down the court. And they communicated, they got feedback. No one was saying you're not a good player or you don't know how to play. No, we don't know how to play together yet, right? Or at the highest level together yet. And so that is what building that relationship is about. People like, I want somebody I can trust. Well, are you willing to do some things to build some trust? Like communicate, like give feedback, like accept and receive feedback. And so again, people have to be unafraid of these conversations, because you could be out here, busting your butt to do some things that the other person doesn't even receive as love. And so, yeah, don't be a suppressor. Yes, you can pick your battle, meaning not start the conversation right now in this moment because we're out or we're somewhere where that's not what's going on. Or maybe things are a little bit heated right now, so we'll wait till we calm down tomorrow and approach this conversation while things aren't heated. But communication is to a relationship what breathing is to living. I don't care what type of relationship it is, it's not gonna work. And so please don't train your kids to be suppressed.
Oh boy.
Out here in this crazy world we're living in, you want them to feel okay to tell you anything and everything, and if they don't, let that come from them, but definitely let it not be coming from you.
Yeah. And, this is why I think we're in such a beautiful age where, I don't have kids yet. I would like to have at least one. But if that's the case, or even if it's not just people like us, we have the opportunity to kind of be a little bit more mindful about these things so that we can teach our kids, because I just see that there's such a shift happening. There's so many people, again, lack of nuance. Oh God, I was watching Ebony K. She's got another viral clip out talking about, encouraging women like in college to not only get the degrees, but to get the misses and to get married and all of these things. And I love that. It sounds great. But my only thing with that is, one, we don't always know how life plays out. Two, I know a lot of people who got married in college and did that, and they're divorced now. And three, what I want our primary conversation to start to go to is like self. You need to know yourself. Too many of us have spent so much time in the wrong relationships because of the way we're raised or how we perceive things and all this and that. And we just think we're doing the right thing. I'm with him and we're engaged. I did it. I can say this because I lived it. I'm 19. I met a man. We did all the things, blah, blah, blah. I'm engaged. Just going down what I was told to on top of being a suppressor, oh God, I was this man's playground. Like he could do whatever he wanted. And it just, we knew we had love, but we were just very young. We were misguided. Right. He didn't have tools. I didn't have tools. We didn't know how to talk to each other. None of that. So that wasn't going to go down just so I could be like, yeah, in my 20s, I got married. And that, girl, my life would be ruined. So I just really think we have got to focus on self, and the beauty and the blessing of my singleness was the opportunity to do that. And now I feel like I can come outside with something. Like now I don't need to be afraid of men or afraid to date or telling people what I ain't going to do. I don't need to do any of that because all of this works, and we're just going to communicate and flow and yes and no and use our words and be in touch with our intuition, know ourselves and know enough to know what works, what doesn't, and just move accordingly. There's just so much more flow to it, but it all stems from self, me knowing self, me understanding self, and me being willing to master self, which is lifelong. But you know, it isn't just to go get married. Like that's not the answer, because the dating pool and it's too much for me. Y'all talking about a lot of stuff that doesn't have enough to do with anything.
Yeah, people have to get to a place where, you know, they are mature enough and balanced enough and healthy enough to be able to work through things, to be able to, you know, talk through things. It's not me versus you. It's us against the problem. It's us against the challenge. It's us against the obstacles to us having the healthiest, happiest relationship we can possibly have. And if you just even adjust that in your mindset, you won't look at it from a place of conflict or something negative. You know, that is what causes it right there. It's like, oh, they complaining, oh, you know, you have this perspective of it that's causing you to reject it. And it really is important. I know I said it before, but it is really important not to do one thing on one side and another on the other. If you communicate very well about what's going on with you, but you don't allow your partner to communicate that with you, you will turn them into a suppressor, just like he said. It won't.
Facts.
You know, they will be like, well, I don't want to hear it, because when I try to tell you things, it can't be, you know, men need to be seen and heard, women need to be seen and heard. And so, yeah, I will go into survival mode if I feel like you're silencing me. And, you know, different people do it different ways, but certainly I've experienced women who will turn into the victim. They will weaponize me sharing things, no matter how delicately I put it, no matter how well I try to explain it. You know, I will give a disclaimer. Hey, I think you are one of the most wonderful women I've ever met. So this is just me talking about something that happened in a moment. It doesn't summarize who you are, doesn't summarize my entire experience with you, but right here, this little slice of my experience, this is what's going on. And not always, but I have still, even with all of that, then I break it down. It's like, so I'm not good enough. So what you're saying is, and you know, changing what I said, rearranging it to make it mean something different, and all of these things, and it can only build resentment. It can only break down the communication and make it ineffective. And yeah, the relationship is headed in the wrong direction if that is what's going on.
Yeah, you nailed it. Because when I was listening to this conversation, I was thinking about secure attachment style. And that's kind of what I'm hearing is both sides of that coin being balanced, in the sense where, you know, yes, you can communicate, but when something is shared with you, because it is, okay. The other side of that coin is when I talk about suppression, right, and being an attack on your self-worth because you don't think people want to hear you, that level of suppression and the attack on your self-worth internally makes, when somebody else says something to you about you, just an attack off the rip. Off the rip, this is personal. You done got on me and you talking about me, you don't like me, because it's so personal, right, as opposed to the validity of the one thing. Could you please do the dishes? Because Every day I'm having to do the dishes and I would like some help with the dishes. Oh, so now I'm just lazy and I don't do nothing around here. And now it's personal when really it's like, if you really stop and think about it, like
Right.
I ain't done dishes in like a week.
Right.
But they're done. This man may have a point. You're right, babe. It's just when you don't got that going on the inside, it's just hard. Everything sounds and feels like a brutal and massive attack.
Yeah, I have some strategies for that though. How about this?
Hit it.
How about we create a system of check-ins, right? Mm-hmm. So rather than, because there are things that are true. We talked about the pick your battle thing, but also it's not what you say, but how you say it, right? And so in sales, I train people on creating for and waiting for openings, right? Because if you just run up on somebody and start trying to sell them something, it's the equivalent of you like diving through their window and breaking their window and coming into their living room and saying, I want to sell you something. It's like, no.
Who are you again? Get the
yeah, they were. This was not the setup. This was not what you ambushed them, right? And so the goal is to have conversation that creates a situation where they invite you in to tell them about what it is you want to sell them. And so in relationship, if you create weekly, bi-weekly check-ins and you're asking them for feedback, now that kind of removes the whole attack thing, because you ask for it and you don't ask for it if you know you can't take it that day. Right? Say, hey, I know we said every 2 weeks,
come on.
I'm gonna wait till tomorrow because today was a rough day. And I probably won't be able to receive it. But when you're asking for it, right, then it really does feel more like feedback. But sometimes people, they maybe suppressed it a little bit, they waited, and so now they're spilling it out in frustration, and you're throwing up your complaints on a person like out of the blue, and they like, wait a minute, what I do? Like,
how do we get here?
What I do? And so it's totally appropriate to set the stage for certain conversations. You can check in with the other person and say, hey, I have something that concerns me. If it's something you feel like we can talk about it now, we can, but it's not super duper urgent. So, I can check in with you tomorrow or the next day if you think that's better. And they might say, hey, yeah, I have had a lot of on my plate this week. But Friday, I'll be done with it. And, let's grab some breakfast Saturday, or let's go to happy hour after work Friday, after that's all behind me. And then we can have that conversation. And so, show some love in your relationship, show some empathy in your relationship, give some understanding, and then show the desire to understand your person. Don't feel like you have to be right and nail them to the cross. You have to prove them wrong. Like, even if you feel like they're wrong, again, try to understand. Try to understand where they're coming from. They might be delivering it wrong. They might have the details of it wrong. That feedback will help them to get it right.
Yeah, and it's also an opportunity for some accountability, because you really could be hearing it wrong. I have to check myself on that. Like, you really could be hearing that wrong. I left a comment on somebody's thing before we got on here. And it was this guy. He's really cute. He's got a lot to say, and I like his little setup and stuff. It's cute. He's good. But he posted some girl talking about, once a dude shows his ass the first time, you got to leave him alone and let him know why he should have took his pants off. And he responded, and he was like, this is why a lot of men feel like they have to walk around in perfection because of stuff like this, like have empathy, have all these things that you're saying. And so my comment, was definitely, he said something else that I didn't so much agree with, but I really feel like once you know what your own personal standards and values are, you can maneuver through all of this really well without saying, because I understood both of them. Right. I knew exactly what she was talking about.
Right.
And she wasn't wrong all the way. Now, maybe the delivery, maybe what he heard, lack of empathy, but if it comes down to it, you want a woman who doesn't put up with too much stuff, because by the time she gets to you, she's really going to be popping off. Like, it's going to be really hard to get to the love. So men should encourage women to cut him off if he ain't doing what. Now, when you have standards and values, it really makes it a lot easier to decipher a red flag from just a little human blunder.
Right.
And when to have empathy and when to be like, because I'm not about to, So I definitely think when you talk about, the reason why I brought that up, when you talked about having some understanding, having some empathy, but you need to be about that before you even meet the man or the woman. That just needs to be what you're about. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard for you to pick and choose and figure out where you're supposed to be empathetic and where you're supposed to speak up and where you're
there was a post in one of these groups that I'm in, and it said, you and your man have a little misunderstanding, and he decides to go to bed and not eat dinner. What's your next move? And when I tell you, you would think World War III had jumped off. These women were going off. I ain't putting up with childish behavior. He's a little boy. I'm gonna eat and be full, and I ain't worried about him. I'm just going to bed. And so I just made the comment. A lot of y'all need to stay single. Crying, laughing, and put my hand over the face. And so my comment kind of went viral on the post. But the woman challenged me, like, why? Because we don't put up with passive aggressive behavior. And I'm like, well, the post didn't describe the context, right? He could have been trying to talk to her about it for the last 3 weeks and then was fed up and went to bed without eating dinner. She described it as a little misunderstanding. It might not have been little to him, right? But my point was, I saw, I don't see any love or any like in the majority of these responses. It's attacks and pettiness, and it's like, wow, why would a man want to be married to you? And why do you want to be married if you plan to feel this way about your man? Some women were like, hey, one woman was like, I would cover the food up for if he wants it later or whatever the case may be. I would take a bath, put on some smell good, and get in bed with him butt naked. I can appreciate that. Another woman said she would put the food away and she would come in there and pray for him and tell him that she really loves him, and that whenever he is ready to talk, that she's ready to even be more intentional about listening and trying to help them get past what she believes is some misunderstanding. So there were some great answers in there, but they were few and far between. Most of the women were going off, and a few of the dudes too was like, "Oh man, he being a B, or he in his feminine energy, and because
he don't feel like eating."
Like, no one, you've never lost your appetite before. Like, it can happen, and it doesn't even have to be over an argument or whatever. Sometimes you thought you wanted it, and you don't want it anymore. And so, I just, again, to me, the circumstances isn't so important. It's the approach and the response. But man, get some love on your heart when dealing with the person you love. Like, maybe you have to go look in the mirror, because life will make you hard. You be hard at work, or you have to be, you have to be more commanding in other situations or whatever. But that's not it in your romantic relationship. And so,
I'm sorry,
but you don't have to be a pushover. Be nice, to be kind, to be loving, to be understanding, to be empathetic. You can be all those things and still have boundaries and still speak up for yourself and all that. Just in a kind way, in a loving way.
Yeah. And, this is kind of something that I want, and I hope men can understand, because then the retort to that is, what women ain't doing, women ain't, and women ain't, and women. It's like, no, it's those women in the comments, number one.
Right.
Number two, the same empathy that you want to receive, you know, you can give. And I know it's hard because that mouth sound like I just want to put a sock in it.
Right.
But just to have that level of understanding that unfortunately these are the women that have been through some things and just have a certain level of work and growth to do. It's not a reflection on men as a whole. Women don't need men no more. Women don't appreciate men. It is not all of that. It's not. So you can't take that and be like, I looked at 50 comments and these women, because this is how women are these days. It's like, nah. The women who ain't on there is looking like, damn girl. And they move it, you know,
Absolutely.
and whatever. Like there's plenty of love
Yeah,
to give.
I have a flip side example too that I saw this week. What was said? Okay, the example was a man and a woman meet each other. They go out on some dates. They hit it off really fast. And in the first 30 days, the man asked the woman to be exclusive. And because they hit it off so great, she agrees with it. Mm-hmm. Another month goes by and she comes to him and says, you know what? I think we may have moved too fast getting into a relationship. That I'm seeing some things that make me think that we need to get to know each other better. So what do you think if we take a step back on exclusivity and be friends and get to know each other better before we decide to get back into a relationship? And it's like, what's your next move? And 90% of the guys are like, move on, it's over, right? And I'm like, well, I'd like to ask some questions about what she saw, what exactly she means about stepping back and how she sees things proceeding based on how she feels in this moment. And then based on the feedback that she gives me from those questions, I may have more questions, but when I get to the end of all my questions and I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of where she's coming from and what's going on, then I can make an informed decision about what's best for me and what might be best for us moving forward, which might be to move on. But I'd like to understand.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Before but so many's like, and what I understood is that what she said was being interpreted as rejection. And those men were trying to quickly respect and accept that rejection when it may not have been that, especially when she was saying, let's keep getting to know each other. And sometimes a person is being nice, which is why I would ask questions to see if that's what they really want to do. But because feeling like you're in a relationship too soon is not the same as having totally lost interest. And saying that we got into a relationship too fast is not the same as friend zoning somebody. So again, you know, the feeling of rejection is causing all of those men to suppress. And a month later, they'll be moving on and they'll be trying to be unbothered, like forget her. But in the back of their mind, they'd be like wondering what happened. Like, we was doing good though, because you asked her to be in a relationship with you. So obviously you like a lot about her. And so you don't even want to know what's going on with this woman you like so much that you asked her to be with you after 30 days. You don't care. It's like,
you don't care?
Yeah, but I think, again, this bravado, the ego, this bravado, we don't want to be, we don't want to feel like we're being soft or that we're begging some woman that doesn't want to be with us to be with us. And, again, conversation is free. It's free just a few more minutes and you might find out what's really going on. Like,
you might mess around and get somewhere.
You might
imagine that
and find out in a good way.
But you know what? A few things to what you said. I'm not so sure people want to do that anymore. It seems to me people are extremely comfortable with people not knowing them enough for them to owe anything, for them to show up anyway that makes them feel uncomfortable. It's a cop-out. It's you got your track shoes on. I've been telling people, stop dating these track stars. That same post, I feel like I could have wrote myself. I was just in a situation and the vibe was great. I'm just like all in it. I'm like, oh my God, some things transpired. And I was just like, maybe we moved too fast. It was that same exact thing. And he took it as rejection. And, it eventually turned into nothing. You know, after that conversation, we stayed in communication. And I continued to go into depths with things. That man was gone so fast. He just was like, and what was crazy about it is I found out about it on the internet. It's like, so why are you could tell all of them.
Right.
But I'm right here and I'm telling you and I'm sharing and being transparent. I'm not calling you names. I'm not yelling. I'm just like, I want to do this thing with you. I am here. I don't even talk to people. I talk to you every single day. When you need me, I'm there. Like, I'm doing all the things. It's just, there's this, I'm hoping we can work. And that was it. That was the end of the relationship, you know? By the time him and I got back on the phone, he was talking about, he was mourning the loss of our relationship. And I'm thinking, like, that's not where we left off. I'm so confused. I am thoroughly confused right now. And it was very hurtful for both parties. And I really think that, you know, men have to be careful with that, because I feel like everybody's acting like they don't want to be with each other. Like, it's nothing. Like, people are disposable.
You know what? People want to deal with disappointment on their own terms, right? And so you say something and it makes me feel like we might not make it. Or so now I'm like, well, I don't want to wait.
Yeah.
Until
I don't want to
all in
invest
love
nothing.
and she says, hey, we need to talk and it's over. So if I just self-sabotage right now, at least it'll be on my own terms. And so sometimes people stay to break up on their own terms, and sometimes people are track stars, just trying to control the narrative so that in their mind, they don't feel rejected. They don't feel like they weren't good enough. They don't feel like they didn't embrace the letting go or the departure, or all these things that people are, you know, in their own heads. And so a woman did come on that post and she said, hey, I see you know, are a professional in this arena. You know, what could that woman have done differently? And I said, well, she said she still wanted to get to know him. So she didn't do anything wrong, but if she wants to be extra thorough, which sometimes that can be a good thing, if, you know, the same way I was saying earlier, how if I'm going to have to give a criticism or some feedback, I try to clarify that it's isolated and it doesn't encompass and summarize everything. And so if you think you're going to say something to a man that he might interpret as rejection, you know, go ahead and say, hey, this is not, you know, I'm not rejecting you. I'm not even saying you're not good enough. I'm saying, I don't know these things, and I'd rather get to find out these things while not being in an exclusive relationship, so the stakes aren't so high, right? Because you know
it's early.
with friends, and it'd be no big deal. But if you're in a relationship, it's the end of the world. Right?
I mean, aren't these the things we're supposed to be discovering about one another?
Absolutely. But yeah, people don't like rejection, and so they will self-sabotage. If they feel like it's coming down the pipeline, they will try to speed it up.
Yeah.
So that they know when it's happening. And so I've seen people even do it, you know, outside of relationships. And it's like, hey, they didn't even say
whoa.
So yeah, don't.
Hold on, Turbo.
Yeah, it's like, don't tell them to give your scholarship to somebody else just yet, because they haven't responded yet. But people will, you know, do that if you're not responding fast enough. They stay moving on. If you're not doing this and that fast enough, they're moving on. It's like,
and now we're here.
Yeah.
And now we're here. Now you don't got nobody. I don't got nobody. It's like, this is not what we got in this for. Like,
and then years down the line, after you talk to a therapist, you have an exit interview, and you find out that there never had to be an exit.
It didn't have to be all that. We could be on a beach somewhere. We really could.
Yeah.
But I digress.
I like women who say something to me. Believe it or not. I mean, not always. Certainly, you can catch me on the wrong day. But overall, I like when, especially if you give me something that I can do something with. You tell me something, and because you brought it to my attention,
come on,
I can fix it. I can do something with it. I'm like, whoa! I'm so, you know what? I see exactly why I came off that way. but that's not how I wanted to come. And you telling me now we won't have that problem again. I love that. Like, love that. I love clearing up misunderstandings. What we did last week, I told someone about that. I'm like, that's so beautiful.
So easy.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Wow.
I love it when things work out. Like,
yes.
I guess that's the hopeless romantic in me. I love it. I love romance movies. I like it when it works out. When love wins. I'm here for it. I'm down for it. I'm clapping for that. I'm a Black enthusiast. Let it win, please. Let it win.
Please.
Adaptation.
Yeah, I thought about that all week too. I was like, wow, I was like, I feel seen, and it feels good to feel trusted, and like give somebody a benefit of the doubt, or take a moment. Let's let some of the flow go just a little bit. Like, or what are we even doing this for? Why would you even bother showing up every Wednesday and investing to just, and you said something so powerful, because that's what I was going to say next, is what I really feel like I'm craving, and I feel like I'm missing in dating this day and age, is like the assertiveness of men. I do want to be able to say something, especially I'll do the work to come at you correct. I'm not going to, and I'll learn you enough to know what that looks like and hear and understand. I'm a woman. I'm intuitive. That's the whole point. We're all intuitive, but I'm just saying. But be assertive. Even if it's like you see me walking out the door, instead of crying about some rejection, come and get me if you think that's the wrong move. Say something, anchor somewhere, do something. You're not going to lift a finger. I can't do it, because the same person, just for example, I was talking about, hits me up again. They always spin the block. You knew that was a mistake. And it's like, you laid up in bed trying to FaceTime me. Like, that is the laziest shit ever. You just disappeared for no reason, left me in something you don't even know, because you haven't been in communication. It would have been different if you showed up to my house, got me some flowers, sent me to get a pedicure. I need action. You laid up on FaceTime and I'm supposed to give you a conversation? Okay, absolutely. Now I'm mad. Now I'm mad. Now my grace for tender conversation is out the window. There's no assertiveness. There's no, I can't do, and there's so many guys like that. There was a guy that called me the other day that I met, and he was like, when I gave him my number, he said he was going to call me. It's been 3 weeks. So now he called and he was like, I thought you was going to call me. I was like, I was giving you this space to call. You said you were going to call me. So just, hey, how's it going? And then he's talking to me like I'm expecting people to go after what they want. And I'm like, dude, it's just too much. I'm not, what? I am so confused.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely confused, like where the assertion is. Where's the sureness? Where's the boldness? Where is the shut up and kiss me? Like, I'm concerned. It's so weird. I don't know what to do with it. And I'm seeing a lot. And I'm like, that rejection, ego, scary thing, that doesn't work either. And people are losing years and time and valuable people that they could be riding off into the sunset with because of that. And it's weird. It's getting weird.
I think that has become more of a thing now that, people ultimately want to control the energy and control the flow of the energy. And so if they can get you off balance and you have you questioning yourself and what you should have done, then, in their mind, they're controlling the energy. But none of this will result in anything healthy. So controlling the energy for what exactly? So that when it's over and you're telling the story to other people, or you're making a post about it on Facebook, you can sound like the hero and you can make them the villain. Like, what is that? Like, I have no desire for it to go wrong and me to come out on top, because that ain't coming out on top.
It's not.
And especially you really care about somebody, you want to be able to say to yourself, hey, I did everything I could.
I did everything I could do.
I know how to do. I look for other things that I didn't know how to do to try to be able to do them. And, then I sleep well. I sleep so good, Jamie. I really do. There's probably nobody on the planet Earth who sleeps as well as I do.
Good for you.
and part of the reason why is because, you know, I put forth tremendous effort. And so, you know, when you do your best, you know, you can't, I'm not saying I never feel bad, but it can't last too long when you know you like put some serious effort and intention into something. And so, yeah, so much self-sabotage out there. So
It's
much,
true.
you know, I guess they're power struggles. Or you had a power struggle with that. He said he was going to call you, and then without telling you, he entered you into a power match with him. It's like, who's going to call first? And then when you finally do call, it's like he got to let you know that it was you were supposed to, and you know, put you on edge to make you feel like you the one need to be calling him. It's like, man, what's wrong? If you like her, I don't need a woman to call me.
And that's what I'm used to.
You, I can call you.
Thank you. And I will pick up the phone. That's why I gave you the number. I don't understand. I'm sitting here sipping wine and getting a pedicure and hearing some things that I don't, what?
God bless. But you know what? On the flip side of that, in my dating history, I have had some women, if you call them and they don't answer or whatever, I'm not going to keep calling you. I'm going to leave a message and then I'll wait for you to get back to me, because I feel like if I'm stalking you, if I called you and don't give you the time, you know, to get back to me, that's communicating like, hey, I'm so important. You need to answer my call right now, no matter what you have going on. But I have encountered some women who, like, if they don't call you back that day, it's a reset the next day. You're supposed to call them again. It doesn't count. It's like, hey,
Interesting.
I called you and you didn't call back. So I thought, you know, you had something going on. So
yeah, that's
I definitely don't have a problem initiating. And I don't have a problem following up, but you know, I do respect people's space, and so I won't be harassing anybody.
It's a tag, you're it. That's perfectly fine. I'm interested. I want, you know, basically, I feel like a lot of these guys are, you know, looking for women to be the pursuer, and I know you've seen posts about that, but you know, oh, well, he said, you must not like me. You know, people are supposed to go after what they want and did it. And as he's talking to me, I'm feeling like I'm not a boy.
We should do a whole show about that though. Cause I had some women clients say that to me, and I'm like, okay, so have you ever like pursued a guy before? And this particular young lady was like, yes, and I would never, ever do it again. And I was like, okay, you know, can you tell me why? And she's like, yes. She's like, there was so much uncertainty. I didn't know how he felt. And I was like, you know, that's how it works for men too, right? You know that we aren't certain how you feel. We aren't certain how you feel either. I said, do you think that there's something in men's DNA that makes us more equipped to handle all of the uncertainty and the rejection and for us to carry the entirety of that load? And I'm not saying that women should chase men.
I'm like,
but what I'm trying to get her to do was I think every woman should chase a man just once, or pursue a man just once, or have to date a man just once, so that you know what you're asking a man to do. Because sometimes I think when a person hasn't done it, or have to go through it, it's like a man demanding a woman to get an abortion. Yeah, because you're not getting one.
Right.
Right. So you're like, why don't you just get one? You know what I mean? Because you have no understanding of what that's about. And so on the flip side, men do have feelings, and no matter how much machismo is promoted in the barbershop, no matter how much machismo is projected onto us by uncles and fathers and grandfathers, or whatever the case may be, no one likes rejection. No one enjoys it. No one enjoys having feelings towards somebody or really being attracted to somebody and having a tremendous uncertainty about whether they remotely think you are attractive physically and or attractive overall. And so again,
we got to figure this out. And
now there are a lot of men who like, nah, you got to man up. And I agree. Again, I'm not looking for a woman. If I like you and I want to talk to you, you better believe I'm going to make that happen. And I think men should too. But I think that when she was explaining that, I think it was a light bulb was going off in her head when I was like, do you think men are immune to that? Do you think?
Oh, is that my phone?
No, somebody tried to call me and I.
Oh, I thought that was I was like, oopsie.
I don't even.
charge.
I'm terrible. I don't even know how to put on do not disturb. But I think that when people understand, the dynamics, that they'll be a little more, treat things a little differently. Again, sometimes women are expecting men to pursue them, which they should, but aren't reciprocating in any type of way, shape, form, or fashion. And because they're immune to the process, they don't think the man needs that. So sometimes they're disappointed. And they're like I said before in another show, like they're disappointed. Oh, he didn't ask me out on a date, or he didn't go any further, or whatever. And they think it's because he's being a coward, or he expects her to chase him. When the truth is when he expressed his interest and he complimented on your beauty, you didn't give anything back for him to grab onto to make him want to keep going. And so it's a dance we're out here doing, and it does take two to tango. So certainly you shouldn't have to be doing the pursuing, but yeah, you have to, if you are interested in a man, you have to give him some indicators. Tell him he's handsome. You like his shirt today. His barber did a good job. Something. You like the content on his page. Something.
Yeah.
You love that he loves his mom. You like his Happy Mother's Day post. Something. Say something that shows interest. Or you can't expect a man to carry the entirety of it on his own. He's going to look for somebody who's willing to help him carry it.
I completely agree. That makes sense. There's a balance in everything. We are going to have to talk about this because I thought about 3, 4, 5 things where we get messed up.
We got to do a whole show about that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because there's a lot in that.
To react, to respond to about that.
So much. It's kind of mind-blowing, but I think we did a great job with this topic.
Yes, absolutely.
One of many. I did start, so I'm going to see how this goes. A subscription-based discussion. I'm doing my first one on Sunday, and it's about red flags. We got to get into nuances of red flags and all, this. So it's new. It's Sassy Sundays, $14.95 a month.
Nice.
We'll have the discussion. You'll get a juicy email after. That'll include a recap, some advice, a mantra, a journal prompt, and you can always bring a friend for free. So I think we need to I wanted to create a space for us women to talk and not just get eaten up by these social media posts. It's messing people up. Bad. Right.
Agreed. Yeah,
so we'll see how that goes.
That's a great idea. I love to see things evolve. I love to see you try new things, and I could see how it would attract people who are more serious about the discussion.
Yes.
And more serious about wanting to get things out of the discussion. And so, I think that's a great program. I love Sassy Sundays.
Yeah, I'll do Sassy Sundays, and we'll change the day with whatever works. But
I love it.
Got to start somewhere. But I think it's important to talk. And it's also for people who are apprehensive about therapy and life coaching, or they don't have the money or the time, or it's just one more thing to commit to. $14.95, you're going to spend that more than that on a gallon of gas at this point. So just you might as well have some community. You will learn something about yourself and life, and it's time to grow. We cannot go into 2024 with these same old habits, these same dry, crunchy discussions that ain't getting nobody nowhere. I'm just going to keep showing up, and whoever wants to roll, we're doing this, So
I love it. I really do. I love it a lot. Invest in yourself, $14.95. Go find the link right now. Get yourself signed up. Subscribe to Sassy Sundays. Look, it's time. Change the results. The same old, in the name of chasing the $30,000 on Facebook, those crunchy conversations, crunchy comments, trying to hit the bonus.
Ghetto.
Yeah. It's that's not it.
It's not working.
I promise that's not it.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Nyatu Marvel. I am Mr. Hitch himself. You can come to thehitchagency.com and connect with me. Get yourself a free consultation. Get yourself signed up for some sessions. Read some great information. And Nyatu Marvel is Hitch on Instagram, no spaces. My government name on Facebook, and Nyatu Marvel. And I'm gonna start a TikTok tonight.
Yes. I can't wait. And if I see it on there, I'm going to subscribe.
Next week, I'm gonna have a TikTok handle to give to the people. Another fellow coach just jumped in my inbox like, "Are you not on TikTok? You know you're missing out." And I've heard that a million times from different coaches or whatever. But I said I am going to break down and be the latest to adopt.
Yes.
The late comer.
Yes.
To TikTok, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen with that. But
I think
I have some things I want to do on video. So yeah, I got some new content. I want to talk about my dating experiences, and I've been very hesitant about that because I don't want anybody to feel any type of way. Obviously, it would be anonymous, and I can talk about things over 10 years ago, but I did want to respect people's privacy, and I didn't want to like trigger anybody or make people feel like I'm talking about them. But I do have some very interesting adventures, some funny stories, some great anecdotes. Definitely not looking to go in on anybody. That's not the type of thing, but just to people always wonder what's going on in a coach's love life.
Yes.
Right? Always. And so I think I'm going to start touching on that, and I think the addition of TikTok would be a great way to start on that platform. So we'll see how that goes. I'll have to pick a day of the week and come with a name that goes with it, and we're gonna rock out.
Good. Well, we can't wait to see it, and we're going to support. I do have Sassy Method on TikTok. However, I'm not as consistent with the content as I should be, but I'd like to have fun with it. I'd like to leave things fun. The moment I feel stressed out, it's like I'm not functioning anymore. So I'll get to it when I can. But you're later than me. I'm usually mad late. You way later. You the latest.
Oh my God. Because I had refused. I wasn't coming. It wasn't that I was late.
It's a lot.
I wasn't coming. But why? Different audience, different platform, different tools. Let's play.
Let's play. Have some fun with it. You're going to do very well.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I did see a couple of comments in there. Hi. People saying hi. But you guys know the drill. We'll be here Wednesdays at 7. I'm going to do better at posting clips because people like them. And thank you guys for tuning in. You can find me at sassymethod.com, and have a great rest of your night.
Happy Winning Wednesday, everybody. Good night.
Peace.